Welcome to another exciting episode and interview of Kung Fu Conversations. And thanks to our friend Neil Bates, we are honored today to speak to Miss Andrea Falk. Thank you, Andrea, for being with us today.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Would you tell us just a little bit? I know you've mentioned this before on some good friends podcasts like Byron Jacobs, but would you give the audience just a little bit of your background and history?
Like what?
The martial.
I started when I was 17.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I started when I was 17. I went to China when I was, 25, I guess. And just kept training the rest of my life. Pretty basic stuff.
But the details in the middle are pretty amazing. So what arts did you learn? I know you were doing some of that first generation of wushu, but you got to work with really high level Kung Fu practitioners. Could you tell me what arts stood out for you? What training stood out for you? What made you kind of fall in love with it while you were over there?
Well, when I started, I was with Alex Kwok with my John Law Horn in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. And he's anyone in North America knows who Alex Kwok is. So I had training when I went, and I didn't really think about what I would be doing. I just went because I knew that you could do wushu at the sports university. So it happened to be classical wushu, which wasn't my thing. So I had sort of start again from scratch almost, because I'd done traditional style, and their modern style was developed from traditional style, but it was developing into that performance kind of stuff, which isn't my thing. And then fortunately I got injured and I got switched to the Xingyi Tai Chi and eventually Bagua. So that turned out well. The guys, the men that were teaching there, and the women too, they were good. I mean, that was back in the day, the best people were teaching in those situations.
And did you know Chinese before you ended up moving to China, or was that something you were learning while you were there?
I learned Chinese because it was on a scholarship to go to China, and I figured to get the scholarship, I was to have my degree in Chinese. So I completed a degree in Chinese, and then I thought to make sure I could get into the sports college that I should have a degree in physical education as well. I was making sure on the scholarship, it would have been cheaper just to go to China probably, but in those days you couldn't really do that. Right. So I got the scholarship after I got the Chinese and the phys ed. They couldn't really turn me down at the college.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah. What styles of Xingyi? Do you remember what styles that you were learning, or the Bagua or the Tai Chi at the university, Andrea?
It was Hebei Xingyi. It was traditional Hebei Xingyi at the university. And then when I trained later with Guoyong, that's still traditional Hebei Xingyi. I've never done another style of what they did for Bagua was, I later found out, Li Tianji's Sun style pretty much, but not really. It slightly changed, I think. I didn't even know that that's what it was. But that's what it was. I'm pretty sure that later I sort of looked into it a bit more. So it was more Sun based, starting to seg into not standardized, but anyway, it was Bagua. I mean, he said, "This is it. This is what we're doing." And later, even at college, first had gone someplace and he'd been training with Zhang. They just train together when they go to meetings or competitions or whatever. That's why all the teachers go. They just train together and have fun. And he came back with another different 8 changes from Zhang. So that was Jiang style, which I then later did train in Shanghai. I trained Jiang style was my main style. And then later I did Magui style, which I still do. I still do Jiang style as well. And then later I did Liang style with the Guoyong, which I still also do. I think I'm a bit of a Xingyi is absolute purist, only do Hebei, and Bagua is like, ooh, that looks cool. I'll do that one.
Nice.
It's the sample platter of Bagua. You know, you gotta get different flavors in your mouth.
Keep them separate. I keep them absolutely separate. I never would mix a style or let another style influence or anything. It's they have to be absolutely separate and pure. I'm quite fussy about that.
So can you contrast for us sort of what the training was like at university, and then, you know, once you'd sort of started training outside of university, like what were some of the sort of the things that stood out to you in any of those styles?
Well, the training at university is very intense. I mean, you're training 5-6 hours a day, even though you're a student, you're not a professional, and professionals are not only trained. But as a student, it is a sports college, and you're expected to have a very high level. Whereas when you're training out in the parks and that, it's much more relaxed. It's a couple hours a day, and they don't push you to injury sort of level. I was lucky that I had the college training, because I had the fitness, I had the capacity to learn very quickly, which traditional styles, they tend not, in the parks, they tend not to do that. You can take a very long time. At college, you learn how to learn. And that's what differentiates the professional from the amateur kind of, is the ability to learn something and remember it and retain it very quickly. And that really helped when I went really into the parks and that, because they could show me something and I'd learn it and they go, oh, she's good, and they show me more. So it's you're coming in at the top instead of at the bottom, kind of.
Did you stay in China after university for a while, or did you head back to Canada and make trips back and forth when you could? How did that work out,
I went
Andrea?
back. Yeah. When the scholarship ended, I went back, and then we'd just try to get together the money to travel back and forth.
Who was the first person you really sought out on your first trips back to China? Or is it a person? Was it a style? Did you get introductions? Who was somebody like, oh boy, I've got to train with this person because that's what I've been looking for?
That I actually sought out. Actually, I was there. It's tricky because I'd made friends with somebody, so I didn't seek him out. But then that's where I ended up training in Shanghai for years. Caiwa was somebody that I'd met at a competition at one of the unprofessional competitions. He was competing for the Shanghai team, and he did beautiful Bagua and Chen style Tai Chi, a very traditional Chen style. So we'd made friends, and so that's who I went to train with. He introduced me to Sifu, and then I lived with his family and trained with Sifu in Shanghai on and off for years. And that's a very traditional Chen style, and Jiang Rongqiao is Bagua. Both of which I've written books.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of my favorite books. This is the Li Tianji's The Skills of Xingyiquan.
Yeah, okay, that's the style that they teach at the university.
Why this book? So out of all the books that you could translate, what was the story behind this book?
Because that's what I did. I translate what I do. I translate what I know, what I understand, what I know what he's trying to say, because not just the words, but I've done it.
Yeah.
I haven't ever translated something that I don't do so far. The Chachuan's a bit of a stretch. I did do some Chachuan. I've seen a lot of Chachuan, so I was able to translate that. And it's who wrote it as well. I know the authors, except for unless they're dead. I know the authors or their students, and to translate something of Li Tianji's was contributing, because he was a tremendous person, and I want to contribute,
Yeah.
Same with Jiang Rongqiao. I knew his students, though I didn't know him. And you just want to contribute something. I knew the style. I do the style, and it's helping to spread that style.
Mm-hmm. So when you do this kinds of translations, do you usually sort of follow I guess I'm wondering about sort of the translation and editing process that you go through. So with a book like that, would you generally follow the way that the book is laid out exactly, or would you go through and would you need to shift chapters around or certain things, or annotate certain pieces to provide explanation?
So the very good authors, the people I've translated so far, are very good writers. Yeah. I don't really need to. Sometimes it's cleaned up a bit in terms of the chapter headings or something like that, but really, no, they're good writers, and I just translate what they say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Go ahead, O.
No, yeah, I was going to ask some more in terms of say with the Li Tianji book. Was it in like written in classical Chinese, or was it written in more the modern version of Chinese? Like, did you have to
just modern Chinese?
Uh huh.
You wrote in modern Chinese, but the stuff at the end that's classical Chinese. That was harder.
Okay,
it was a lot harder.
Yeah. And that's what I was sort of leading into that, how do you approach like the process of, translating, like do you run into that frequently, I guess is my question, sort of this idea of modern and sort of the traditional Chinese or classical Chinese. And then how do you sort of navigate between the two when you're translating?
I studied classical Chinese at university, and I also studied, there's sort of a middle between classical and modern. I've also studied that. So the language isn't that tricky. And also because I'm translating stuff that I do, and I know what I kind of know what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like you can intuitively translate as well. It's not just rote translation. You can't just go word, word. You have to intuitively understand what they're saying. Yeah.
In your translation journey, was there any book that you were translating, like one of the arts that you practice, and there was a line in there that you're like, aha, bingo. I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah.
Oh, gee. Probably. I can't think of anything offhand, but probably. It's kind of, oh, okay. No, I don't, I can't think offhand of any aha moment, but I'm sure there were some.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a baby at Bagua. Owen's almost been doing it for 30 years, and I've only been doing it for 3 or 4. But I can tell you that this book was so insightful. Shadow on Fallen Blossoms. Holy cow. I mean, I was turning the pages, and I shouldn't say this because Owen's my teacher and he's on with this lot, but, I shouldn't say this, but, there were so many times I was reading through that book. I'm like, oh man, Owen said that. Maybe I should listen to him a little more.
Maybe you should, yeah.
Maybe I should listen to him a little more, but tell me about the joys of doing something like this one. Cause I really, Owen and I don't know if you got to listen to it, but we talked about you in this book on our podcast. And I've got to say, this is a gem. I haven't seen anything quite like this. And thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
and
that was my goal, was to do something different. Yeah. Have something different. Have something that that's more fun. Like people take things too seriously for martial arts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I to just sort of piggyback on what Randel was saying, I love that book, and I've read it many, many times, and I appreciate. I don't speak Chinese, I don't read Chinese, but like I appreciate the level of effort that went into it, and the thoughtfulness and the time, and I recommend it like we've recommended on several podcasts, but I always recommend it to anybody who does Bagua. I think it's a gem. It's just, it's really, it's great. I love it. So thank you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I had a lot of fun, actually. It wasn't really hard work. It was fun. A lot of the things, I was digging through a lot of materials at the library in Shanghai and Beijing. And I came up with this. It's 100 volumes, 110 volumes. It's in the book is in the references of everything that was ever written on martial arts before whatever year. And it was just so much fun to go through and look for anything that might be referring to Bagua or something that would help as a cultural reference. So I was just drawing like images, and it's like, oh, that image is so cool, that has to go in the book. I don't care if it's relevant or not. I'll find a place to put it. It was just really fun. It's like, that is so cool. All these writings on martial arts, just from the first one up till fairly recent.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
I was going to ask, do you actually enjoy the process of translating? That sounds like a silly question.
Yeah, I like translating.
But
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I do. I like it. And I like, for something like Shadow, I mean, it was more, I was playing with it more. It wasn't straight translation. So that was fun. For something like Tianji or Jiang, or Guoyong, he writes really well. You just translate. You just put the page down, put the hands down on the keyboard. You're looking at Chinese. It comes out in English. Quite often, it's that fast. If it's technical stuff, it just goes through the body, and I could be listening to music in French. I don't care. It's like, it's just an attachment from eyes to fingers, and when it's technical. And then the bit you have to stop and slow down and think about it. But I like it. It's fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
So can I ask, what was the inspiration around that book? Like what led you to say, I feel like I have to do this translation, and then maybe have to present it in the way that you did, which I also really appreciated.
I was looking for what to do next. One thing, I was looking for what to do next, and Guoyong said, you should do something important now. And I was kind of like, because I translate people's books, la-di-da-di-da, and then he said, no, I think now, I was probably 60 or something like that, and he said, it's time for you to do something important, like write something. So okay, and I started to think about it more, and there's something about the poems. They're presented all the time, but there hasn't been a book which just about the poems. Yeah. Because there's not much there. I mean, there's a lot there, but it's you can put it down in a couple of pages. And so then how do I present them that it's meaningful, it's important. And then I started looking at all the different versions. I was, okay, that's what I'm going to do is give everybody all the versions that have ever come out, and let I think about it yourselves. That's what I was trying to do. Just present, this is it. This is what I think it kind of means, but you can think about it yourself. Is all the materials there. You don't have to go digging through these dozens of books, finding all the different versions of it. It's there for you. So it's good for people that do Bagua and know about it. It presents all the information, but for people who are newcomers, then they can just sort of read the English and, get introduced to it, sort of.
And I love that you left the original Chinese, and then you put the Pinyin translation, and then you put the English in there.
Like to have the Chinese, yeah. I always like to have the Chinese one.
Yeah.
I like to assume intelligence on the side of the reader.
Yeah. Even the pictures were just a lovely touch. Growing up with those pictures, I didn't start Bagua till much later in life, but I always had the Kung Fu bug as a young man. And I loved those pictures of the Bagua, the guys throwing each other, and to have those in there. It just adds a little bit of extra to it.
That's what the pictures were, is I'd find a picture I liked. I would find a place that it would fit in. I would find some excuse that it's illustrating something, because I just like it.
Are you working on any new translations right now, Andrea?
I'm thinking. I've just finished the Tachuan, and again, that's because of the teacher, the person that wrote it, that I wanted to contribute to his. He never wrote in English, so I wanted to get Jiang Wenguang, who's a wonderful person, and get his things translated into English. So I've kind of done the people that I wanted to do. We were just talking about that yesterday. I think I did come up with some kind of an answer what I'm going to do next. Or didn't I? I'm still thinking. I'm looking for a project. Oh, I remember. It's one of the first book. That's right. The Nanchuan book. The first book that I ever saw when I was studying Chinese and tried to read it. And it's in, I think it's from Hong Kong. So it's written in the old style, which I was like, oh, now I could read it. No problem. Maybe do that. It had really, really cool pictures, drawings.
Oh,
that's
cool.
Kind of what I was thinking of it. Yeah. The tiger and crane form. It's an old, not fairly old book. I mean, but I just remember it, and I still have it in my shelves. And it was maybe that. I'm looking for a winter project, so it might be that if I can't think of anything else.
How hard or enjoyable or mixed between both? Because Beijing Bittersweet is really its own thing. How hard was it?
That
really?
Was really hard. That was really hard. Yeah.
What was so hard about it?
I'm back to translating. I hate writing. I can write well and I can write fluently, but you have to decide what you can say and what you can't say, and what you want to give out about yourself and what you don't want to give out about yourself.
Yeah.
And all that deciding. With translating, you don't have to decide so much. You just translate. With writing, you have to decide so much, and you write something down and you go, oh, no, I can't say that, or I shouldn't say that, or I don't want people to know that, or, there's all kinds of decisions constantly made. And then the organization, it's all you. It's not translation. You can't count on that. I had a lot of people helping me with both those books, like proofreading it and giving suggestions and saying you should do this or that and change the order. And they really changed a lot while I was writing them, both of the Shanghai book and the Beijing book, because you can't do that yourself. You just can't. It was translation. You just bang on. So yeah, I hate it. It was really hard. I'm not doing that again.
Well, thank you for doing it. I've got to say that, not just a martial artist, but you're our second translator we've had on the show. We've actually got to speak to Bill Porter, or Red Pine. And, he does more Buddhist sutras, and he's done a version of the Tao Te Ching, but Bill is also Bill's also a great travel writer. And, I love his travel writings. And I would say that, your book on Shanghai and then the Beijing Bittersweet are up there with his style. Cause you very much get a voice coming at you and kind of guiding you along that journey as well. Yeah. So you feel like you get to piggyback with you.
Oh, that's good, because I am physically, like, where I am is very important. It's kind of the Beijing thing and the Shanghai thing. I thought it was important to the books that people kind of get that this is where it is. This is really not just some random place. It's Beijing and it's Shanghai, and it affects like what's going on and who you are when you're there. So I'm glad you like that bit of it. And I like maps. I just love maps. To put maps in for doing that. That's the only fun part, I think.
I was going to ask, do you have a favorite art out of all the arts you've maybe have practiced or even currently do practice? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, Bagua. It's got to be Bagua. Yeah. If you're only allowed to do one, you mean? It would be Bagua.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And I guess within that, you've studied a lot of different styles of Bagua. Do you have a favorite? Sometimes I've asked that question to other people occasionally, and they're like, well, it's kind of what I'm working on now is my favorite. But
the 64 hands, which I learned in Liang style, but is from Liu. It's something that's taught in different styles, but it's just so much fun. I mean, I'll always circle walk, but if I'm going to just try to do something, if I'm going to just, so one of my friends call it Kung Fu Tourette's. If you're going to break out into something, it's going to be 64 hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do Gao style, so I'm familiar with. We have our version of that 64 hands stuff. So, and I've seen some of the Liang style.
I mean. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dee does it really well and very clear. Mm-hmm. I've seen some, I haven't seen yours, and I haven't seen that much different, but Dee does it a really, really nice 64 hands.
Yes, yeah, I've seen some video of that as well. Within the 64 hands, what sort of things do you like about it? Do you like the linear with the circular? Do you like less? What about it sort of, why would you go to that?
It's because it's so sort of organic. Everything moves from one to the next in a way that makes sense. It's very easy to learn because it makes sense. I do that, and then I do that, and then I do that. And all the moves are just like super cool as well. And there's all kinds of really fun things to do that you wouldn't normally do like you don't do them in the changes, kind of, you don't do them if you're doing lines of stuff. I mean, it's just like really cool moves that fit together well.
Mm-hmm. Andrea, do you find that working with all these great teachers over the years, that the higher level teachers and maybe even the higher level arts are not mysterious? They're very organized, they're very trainable, and they're very approachable. Do you think that that's maybe a common thing that gets overlooked on the Chinese arts?
Yeah, anybody I've learned with has been pretty down to earth, and I say that the higher the level they are, the more it just makes sense. There's nothing mysterious about it, really. You just do your training. And I wouldn't train with somebody that just goes on and on about something that doesn't make sense.
Sure. Yeah. Good call.
How did you get introduced to the Magui style?
Lee had contacted me because I was translating that, he thought I might be handy to have as a person for doing that kind of work. Mm-hmm. And so he started teaching me, and that fixed a lot of physical problems. The circle walking from that style is really powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm. What about the circle walking do you find to be unique? Could you share that with us, please?
It's hard to describe, but it's just different from how everybody else does the circle walking and how everybody else sort of understands it. And it really changes your tendons and ligaments and fixes injuries. Mm. It's very intense. It's very intense. Mm-hmm. I do that pretty much every day. And before doing anything else, really, I do that.
Mm-hmm. Does the system have any? Does it have any straight line sets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Straight line. It's got changes. It's got all kinds of stuff going on.
Sure. And when you train it, or I guess better yet, when you teach it, not necessarily even the Ma style, but like when you teach any of these arts in general, do you where do you start, or generally where do you begin by presenting the information? I know it's a tough question, but
yeah, that's an impossible question to answer that question. There's no.
That's fair. That's a tough one. Yeah.
What does your own training look like these days? Is it like 3 or 4 months of Bagua, 3 or 4 months of Xingyi? Or do you because you said you separated the Bagua, you kind of compartmentalize those, this style is this style is that style. Or do you have a day where you might start off with Bagua and then take a little break and then do like 30 minutes of Xingyi, take a little break and then finish up with some silk reeling or some Chen Tai Chi? How does your training look?
I'd never mixed Tai Chi with the others.
Okay.
I would do, I'd always do Bagua circle walking. I do warm-up exercise. Well, actually, that sort of come from Tai Chi. A lot of the warm-up stuff is kind of a Tai Chi, kind of a joint loosening thing, which is more Tai Chi than the others, I guess. And I'll always circle walk. And in the winter, I'll do more Xingyi because it sort of lends itself to that cold, possibly slippery, straight line back and forth, make yourself a track in the snow kind of thing. And you don't need to be so limbered up for the Xingyi. It's just 5 element kind of stuff. You just go boom, 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 and you're fine. You can do that in the cold. I wouldn't do Tai Chi in the winter at -20. I mean, that's just asking for injuries.
Yeah.
And if nowadays when I do Tai Chi, it's Tai Chi Chang Chuan. It's not, I don't do the Chen style so much anymore. It's a bit rough on the knees. But the Tai Chi Chang Chuan isn't. And I learned that from Sifu and Andrea Falk in Shanghai. And it's, in this summer I'll do that. And, Bagua I'll just do any time. It doesn't really matter what the weather is. But I wouldn't do Xingyi and then do Tai Chi Chang Chuan kind of thing. I would circle walk, maybe do 64 hands and then do some Xingyi back and forth kind of stuff. That doesn't bother me at all, mixing that. But I don't mix styles. I will mix the styles on the mixing styles isn't
the training in the training.
Yeah, I will train 2 different styles in the same session. Yeah. But my body knows what it's doing. I mean, it's not going to mix them up. It's not going to get confused. But the Tai Chi Chang Chuan I only do if the weather's nicer in that. Yeah.
How about weapons? What are you gravitating towards these days? Is there something you can't do anymore that you kind of wish you could take another, go at it, or are you still able to practice the weapons that you like? And
I still like the weapons, but because I'm always out in the parks and that, I'm a bit shy to get them out. And then when I am in a place where I could get them out, it's too cold. It's not good for the weapon. So I tend not so much. I do love the spear. I mean, I am always been a spear person, and I always will be a spear person. It's just I don't get the opportunity that much to play with them. I don't know if Neil told you, I ring bells. That's become my latest weapon. When you're dragging around, like bells can weigh the same as a Volkswagen kind of thing. You've got that at the end of the rope. It's such a great feeling that moving that much weight with so little effort. That's kind of become my weapon almost, for the physical joy of playing with something.
Amazing.
It's really hard to describe. You'd have to, I guess, look at videos, but then it's just people kind of standing around and pulling on ropes. It doesn't look like much, but the bells up top are really heavy.
Awesome. So are you still teaching internationally? Are you, I think you're abroad right now, aren't you, my friend?
I am abroad, but after COVID, everybody just kind of shut down at that time. And what I do is I teach at clubs that are established clubs and carry on their own and that. And in Canada, most of them had closed and over 3 years, they kind of moved on to other things or they'd closed and that. And I'd gotten older and then gotten out of the habit of that much traveling. I also don't want to travel that much after COVID. So no, I've really cut that back, gone more to the writing aspect. And I'm in England to ring the bells. So I'll teach Neil while I'm here, but we don't really do an organized thing anymore. And in Canada, we don't either. I'll teach privately. And that's it. So there are people that I still do teach, but not the seminars anymore. Okay. You can thank COVID for that.
Yeah. It's been wild. As a matter of fact, our show came out of COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. The podcast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of, I was going to ask, what kind of Qigong do you do, or how does that fit into, your practice or how you teach?
I circle walk.
Okay.
That you don't need qigong if you circle walk properly. So I've never had patience for qigong. Sorry, that's just saying for Chen Tai Chi. Because if you're doing this properly, you don't need qigong. If you're doing it properly, you don't need qigong.
Sure.
And yeah.
Well, how about Santi? Do you suffer through Santi, or have you kind of?
Not anymore. I've done my suffering. Thank you very much.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Sorry,
Is there?
did I say that out loud?
Yeah, that's okay. That's no, please.
Yeah. That's an awesome answer.
That's a great answer. So I'm a bit of a Xingyi geek. Is there something in the Xingyi practice that, is there an element, is there an animal, is there a linking form that still these days really makes you smile and brings out joy anytime you get to goof around with it?
I like doing the 5 elements back and forth.
I do too.
I just like that. I mean, I know forms. I know big long forms. I don't do them. I don't. It's like, oh my God, there's more moves. I like doing 5 elements. You go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then I like the little 8, the bashi.
Mm-hmm.
I like that more than the 5 element form. There's something really that flows better. I really like it. Whereas the longer ones, they just go on and on. So, not really a forms person.
Anshin Pao.
I'm more a forms person, but I'm not.
Yeah, Anshin Pao, you have to pack a lunch.
Oh no, Anshin Pao is fun. Anshin Pao is a hoot.
You like that one?
Oh yeah, I love Anshin Pao. That's the 2-man form. Now you're talking. That I have people scattered around the world that know that, and then I show up. We have to do Anshin Pao. It's like quack. It's pretty short if you go at it.
Awesome. As a teacher, if there's a piece of advice that you could give a rookie teacher, what would it be?
Don't talk too much. Any teachers I've seen in just about anything just talk too much. The person has to get it intuitively. The more you drill into their brain, the less they're going to be sorting it out. The more they're going to be thinking about it, and the less it becomes them doing it. Don't over-explain. That'll be it.
Beautiful.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to ask you, when you first got to Beijing and you were first going to university there, how did you navigate sort of the cultural, because it was in the early part of the 80s, so wasn't it? I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but the culture is so different from the West, and there's a lot more that's based on relationships, and so how did you navigate that?
You're always an outsider, so you live with that, and you don't try to be Chinese. Of course, you adapt, and things become normal for you. So you kind of, but if you try to be Chinese, it just doesn't work. You're not. But you can know what to say and how to behave and stuff. You learn that, and they're actually really good at explaining. This is what we do. If we're doing something that money was involved, they hand you money and they say, count it. I say, what? Because it's not polite in our society to count the money. It shows you don't trust the person. And they say, no, count it in front of us. So we're both on the same page. I gave you this. Yes, you gave me that. But they'll explain it. They're really good about saying this is how we do it. And you're, okay. So then you know to do that, but don't try to be Chinese or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
And when you were developing relationships, and I know that sort of the Guanxi is sort of an important thing. Did you have to get introductions to certain teachers, or did you just meet them sort of in relationship to other teachers that you had, or was there something more formal that happened?
Well, because I had this friend, I was introduced to my Sifu in Shanghai. I would never have been able to train with him if I didn't have that introduction. But we had just met at a competition. We weren't introduced. For Guoyong, I had seen his videos. I was laid up with a bad back and was surviving by watching his videos. And I don't know how I got in contact with him. I must have had somebody that knew him or something. And then I just asked if I could translate his what he was doing. And then we just met and we took off from there. But I can't remember how we have emails in those days. I must have had emails. Yeah, we had emails in those days. But anyway, I must have had some introduction, but I don't remember. So, who else have I trained with? No, I guess because I was at the university and I was being sent out to watch all these competitions that I just naturally met people, and Michelle would make sure that I was introduced to people in that. And then people knew me because I was around for a few years.
Yeah.
And easily recognizable.
Sure.
Kind of tall and blondish. They knew who I was. And so the introduction part wasn't so much an issue as it might have been if I hadn't been around at all the competitions.
It's a sort of good fortune for you.
Yeah.
Being in the right place, right time, meeting people.
Yeah, I have a sort of a natural respect. If you've graduated from the sports college, then you present how to go. Yeah, she's all right.
Sure.
With some guy showing up in the park, hey, can I train with you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
There is
very much
for education in China.
When you started studying with Guoyong, did you start? First, had you done Xingyi before that?
Oh yeah, that's what
at university. Yeah,
my major in university practically. Yeah.
Okay.
With Shah.
And when you went to go study with him, did you just start from the ground up again?
Well, yeah, you have to know he does it a little bit differently. It's still Hebei style, but he does it a bit differently. You do have to start with not at the beginning. He's not going to make me stand in Santi for 3 years or anything like that. Right.
Right.
So,
sure. Yeah.
There was that, but I did obviously start with the 5 elements again and standing Santi this way, but I didn't have to, as I say, do it for 3 years. I moved along fairly quickly.
Right. You had a good base. You had a good, strong fundamentals.
And I'd learned how to learn. So he got that. He's a really good teacher, and he doesn't hold people back on purpose or anything like that. If you're capable, then he'll move you along. And,
yeah, I think I've only got 1 or 2 more questions, though.
Yeah, I got a couple.
So I guess I think I've got one more, Andrea. And this one's kind of different, but nothing weird or scary. You were 17 when you started your Kung Fu journey.
Yeah. Just turned 17. It might have been 16, but yeah.
Is there some advice you could give a young woman that maybe wants to start the Kung Fu path?
It's different nowadays. I think there are some women in martial arts. So it's not as, you're not going to be the only person there. It's not like before. So I don't think, no, not really. Just go for it if that's what you want to do. I say it's not as complicated. You're not going to be the only girl there.
And I was going to ask you sort of my final question. This might be
I know what it is. If the boys, I know what it is. If the boys won't fight with the girls, kick them, and then they will fight you.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first, folks.
That's awesome.
And they will actually put up a fight. Nobody's that polite.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's a wonderful place to end.
That's a horrible place to end. Well, I just remember like some guys wouldn't fight. I'm sure it's not like that anymore.
Yeah, probably not. But what I was going to ask was, I was going to ask you about your, as you over time and as a teacher, how have you seen yourself sort of develop? Have you become more interested in the fundamentals? Have you become more concise? What is your sort of I know it's kind of a big question, but what does your sort of path look like?
The last, I think, like COVID and beyond, because I didn't have to teach anymore so much, just people that already knew me and were already training with me, to start just doing stuff that I like. I didn't have to do stuff to remember it to teach it.
Sure.
Yep. Right? And so it's much more basics, just stuff that when you're a beginner, you think is really boring. As I was saying, the 5 elements. Oh my God, I have to do pigeon back and forth again until I die. And now it's like, yay, do pigeon back and forth until I die. You really do, enjoy the basics a lot more when you don't have to be teaching them. You're just doing it for yourself. Like, why would I do a long routine just for myself? I'm going to go back and forth and back and forth. I'm going to walk around in circles and do the stuff that I like doing, which is punching and kicking, right? So why get complicated about it?
Yep.
Awesome.
Excellent. That's all I got.
Okay, good.
Well,
thank you so much, Andrea. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully that wasn't too painful for you. And
I like listening to translating. That was better. Nobody ever asked about that, and that's my main job now.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for letting us borrow your phone. And we will let you guys know when this episode comes out. We'll contact you and send you some links to it. And again, thank you for your time. You are a treasure to us. We love your books, and your work is super appreciated, and we want the world to know about it. So thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a blessed one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.